everyone, this is Karen Fomafung, your Agile Evangelist, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be talking about something very interesting. So, this topic that we'll be addressing today, it has a lot to do with emotional intelligence. So, now, how do you handle team members who tend to be very quiet during critical meetings that they are supposed to be talking? For example, a retrospective event. How do you handle team members that tend to be very quiet, or the entire team that tends to be very quiet during a sprint retrospective event, when you expect them to, talk, generate ideas so that together you all can improve, for high performance? How do you handle that situation? For those who are already on the ground, you would relate. I know that you can relate with what I'm talking about, and for those who are yet to go on the ground, this is a perfect opportunity for you to be able to understand these things, or understand the reality that we are facing, as opposed to the things that you see in books. All of these things that you see on the ground, they are not in the book. So how do you handle this situation when you are conducting an event, especially the retrospective, and then your team members tend to be so quiet, you find yourself being the only one talking? How do you handle that situation? Now, before we go into our topic of today, as always, if this is your first time here, you're very welcome. I appreciate you so much. So that you stay in sync with what we do here on weekly basis, please turn on that subscription button and that notification bell so you will never miss out on all our content. If you are a returning subscriber, a returning viewer, I love you. I always appreciate you, and you're so welcome. Thank you so much for your continuous love and your continuous support. Just as a notification, if you are looking for a one-on-one mentoring, coaching services, especially if you're struggling around doing your job as a Scrum Master, if you think you need mentoring and coaching, I have a mentor. I have a personal mentor. Just because I show up here and then I share my ideas with you, it doesn't mean I know everything. Trust me. I have a mentor that I always have to fall back to when I need support. Need support on the framework, need support on the mindset, need support emotionally. I have my mentor. I always turn back to my mentor. Having a mentor is a necessity as an agile practitioner, or even whatever other profession you're doing. But to me, it has been a game changer since I found out about the criticality of having a mentor. So if you don't have one yet, we will be so glad to fill that gap. So if you're struggling on the ground, or you're looking into breaking into the job market, you're not sure how to go about it, you would agree with me that it is not easy. Having a certification or going through the lessons and trainings, it doesn't guarantee a job for you. So if you've been struggling and you're not sure how to go about it, you'll be having calls and the interviewers will not call you for the second interview, reach out to us. If you've been thinking or contemplating on breaking into these career path and you're not sure how to go about it, because you agree with me that there is just too much information out there, at times you tend to be confused or not even know which direction to take, reach out to us. You may just be next in line to be helped. We've been helping a lot of people. I'm not going to take all the glory. I have partners and we've been helping a lot of people. God has been helping us help a lot of people. That's the honest fact. So reach out to us. We will be so glad to be part of your success story. So thank you so much. Now let's quickly dive into our topic of today. So how do you handle team members, developers that tend to be very quiet during your sprint retrospective event? This is the reality on the ground. And the only way that you can improve is if you are able to generate ideas for improvement. The sprint retrospective have been designed to be that platform that will allow you all as a team to, pick brains and generate ideas for you to improve for high performance. Now, you notice that you connect for your retrospective event, and then you're trying to encourage your team to talk. You've even brought all these interesting games. Sometimes when they ask people, especially reading books, they'll tell you that, oh, there are so many interesting games out there. You can bring it and then you play these games and your team will talk. That's not true. I mean, sometimes that works, but most times it doesn't always work out. It doesn't always work out. That's the fact. So all what I just said is in the books, but the reality is what I'm about to tell you. That is what we face. Sometimes you will launch your retrospective. You've already set the stage. Follow all these cool steps that you always read in the books and that people always come to YouTube and mention. You follow all these cool steps. And then when you get to the point of gathering data, you realize that nobody's talking. So what do? Like sometimes sometimes it may feel embarrassing, trust me, especially if you are not used to that already. It may feel embarrassing. And what I mean, I found myself, just bringing the African in me, and I'll be like, please stop now. I mean, that's the reality though. Sometimes I find myself, and when I say that, I mean, I am a very authentic person naturally though. Some of you may have noticed that already. I'm a very authentic person. So sometimes when I'm trying to encourage them, I've done all the things that all the best practice, all these things, and it's still not working. I just unleash the African in me, and not just the African. I unleash my Nigerian style. And I'm like, please stop now. And that alone will make them laugh, even though my intention wasn't to make them laugh. But the silence sometimes, it's just killing. It can kill you, that silence. So before I want to even go deep into start telling you how I would typically handle this kind of atmosphere when they turn to be so silent, let me just tell you some of the reasons why your team members would not talk. Number one of the biggest reasons why your team member will not talk, or your team members, the developers, will not talk, is because naturally statistics have shown that developers are very quiet people for the most part. Not all of them, but naturally developers are very, very quiet. Again, it may be their nature, and then sometimes the nature of their job have shaped them to be like that. I just need you to first have that understanding, so that when you find yourself in a place where you're trying to, make them talk or encourage them to talk or empower them to talk, and they are just really being quiet and silent, you just need to know that, so that will also give you some peace of mind, so that it shouldn't be like there's something you're doing wrong or anything like that. I need you to first have that psychological safety. The kind of work they do, they need to always be focused and committed to develop these codes, write these codes and all these things, and it doesn't give them room to constantly chit chat and talk like that and still be efficient or effective on what they are doing, or still be able to remain focused on what they are doing, you see. So as they continue to do that long term, it shapes them to be that quiet, Now, having that in mind, I also need you to have in mind the purpose of the retrospective in the first place. What is the purpose of the retrospective? The purpose of the retrospective is to be able to generate points, be able to evaluate your sprints, how the sprint went in terms of the product, in terms of behavior, in terms of attitude, in terms of the framework, in terms of the mindset, the agile mindset. So yes, the sprint retrospective have been designed as that platform that gives the team the opportunity to evaluate these things and then come up with ideas to improve in order to become highly performing. That is the purpose. Now, regardless of how you go about it to get these points for improvement, it really doesn't matter. The point is that you should be able to generate this point. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where your developers are not talking, especially being vocal the way they should, it's okay. We now have virtual tools, all sort of virtual tools out there. You can lean on virtual tools, create a virtual space. So there are a lot of virtual retro tools out there these days. You have Retrium, you have even Microsoft Teams, you have a Mural, you have Mural, all of these things, Fun Retro. these are tools that you can leverage. Just send the link to them and encourage them to go in there and type, put their tickets. That will ease the atmosphere too, and that will help you generate some of these points you're looking for. And then when you connect for your stand-up, you just try as much as you can to make them expand, provide more insight into these points that they've generated. Yes. And then another thing too, you need to first of all observe and try to evaluate evaluate to understand the reason why they are not talking in the first place. For the most part, if your team members doesn't feel safe to speak up, that's one of the biggest reasons why team members will not speak up, especially if the environment they are working for is toxic. If the environment is political, if the environment is toxic, they may not speak up because they don't know if what they are saying may be held against them in the court of HR, and it may put them in the bad spotlight in front of their boss or anything like that. They don't know. So most of the time, the reasons why developers will not talk is just because they don't feel safe to speak up, to be courageous. If you evaluate or you observe and you notice that may be the cause, especially if you think your organization is a little bit political or a toxic environment that has a lot of finger pointing, blame game, and all that stuff, instead of using shortcomings as lessons learned and use it for improvement, they use these things as a performance evaluation tool. You see, if you find yourself in that kind of environment and you think that's the cause of your team not speaking up, what I have done in the past and I'm still currently doing is that I always make sure that when we connect for our sprint retrospective, the first thing I do as I'm setting the stage is I reassure them. I make them to understand that it is that what we talk in here stays in here. Whatever we talk about here stays here. I create that sense of safety within my team, for them to understand that they should feel free to speak up as long as they remain respectful, and positive, even when they are bringing up points that were not very good. As long as they remain respectful about it, that is all what we are looking for, because at the end of the day, the goal is to come up with points for improvement, so they should feel comfortable. I assure them that they are safe in this space, that this is their 1 hour 30 minutes to, pour out anything, any feelings, whatever they have in them that may be bothering them and hindering us from progressing as a team. This is a very safe place. So I make sure that I state that assurance. I reassure them that this is the place for them to speak up, be open, and express themselves, because whatever we discuss here stays here, And I've noticed that whenever I say that, gradually with time, and then they also realize that I keep to my words, they also realize that I keep to my words. Is someone, for example, because I notice that sometimes POs have the tendency of wanting to act as project managers or bosses. That's just my experience, and there was a time when we realized that some of the things we'll talk about in our retrospective, the PO will shoot it up, escalate it, even when there are not things that needed anything from those stakeholders in order for us to move forward to improve. She would escalate it to the stakeholders, and then the team members will they may be reprimanded for things like that, so that causes some kind of tension in the team, and team members will just fold themselves during retrospective. They would not want to be that open, but whenever I connect with them one-on-one, I will find out that they are talking to me. So I had to meet with the PO just to help coach the PO on the purpose of the retrospective and how the format of the retrospective always happens. That is not a ground for complaint, for finger pointing and anything like that. And it is very critical that team members feel safe to speak up. That's the only way we can truly know what's going on and come up with ways to improve as a team. So I had to coach the PO before gradually the PO was in line with the expectation for us to succeed as a team. Yes, that is one most important thing that you should make sure you find out if you realize that your team is not talking. Yeah, so once that is done, and then they also observe that you are keeping to your words, the entire team have that culture as a family that they rely on each other, support each other, and whatever they talk about stays within them, they will gradually begin to speak up. And then another thing that I have also realized, that sometimes as leaders, right, as agile leaders, it is okay. Silence is okay. It's okay to get comfortable with silence. Sometimes it used to just really get to me. I used to really feel embarrassed when I am talking. I'm trying to make them talk and they end up not talking. They end up just being so quiet. I mean, you stay for like 1 minute, getting to over 1 minute, nobody say nothing, and then you'll be trying to fill the silence gap. No, I don't see the need for that anymore, because I've grown to understand that sometimes silence is okay, but not the overboard kind of silence. Sometimes silence is okay. So you have to be comfortable with it. As long as you've noticed that your team is psychologically safe, they feel psychologically safe, it's just their style not to talk too much, being the developers that they are, it's just okay for you to be comfortable with that. So I always tell my one of the people I used to report to in the past, whenever he visits my team, he'll come back and be like, your team is so quiet, they don't talk. How do you handle that? Because I feel embarrassed when they don't talk. When I'm talking to people and they don't talk, I'm like, I am already so comfortable in being uncomfortable. So that doesn't bother me anymore. As long as I know that they feel psychologically safe and we are still generating the points, they are good with writing. So that's the way we used to get our points. And then when it comes to the time for them to generate insight, when we are going through all these points that they have put it into the tool that we are using, they still generate insight. So they just talk when it's necessary. They don't talk all the time. They just talk when it's necessary. Yeah, so that's what I told my boss, and that's how we've been operating. So again, the key first is to find out if your team is psychologically safe, if they feel psychologically safe. If they feel psychologically safe, it's okay for them to not want to talk the way you expect them to talk, as long as they are still generating that point through your virtual tool that you're using, But if they don't feel psychologically safe, make sure you help them feel psychologically safe, okay? So that they may be able to bring up these points that you are looking to get from them. So that is the way I have handled my team. And then sometimes too, yeah, like I said, one-on-one, I also use one-on-one. If I realize that it's just some couple of people that all the time, they hardly really talk, they hardly bring up points, they don't even go in there and drop their comment. What I typically do in that situation is I try to connect with them one-on-one. I try to connect with them one-on-one to just really, because sometimes I used to put them on the spot. I may be like, oh, what do you think? What do you think? But I also realize that a lot of people don't like to be put on the spot. So after our retro is over, what I'll typically do is I'll connect with them one-on-one just to have a conversation, just to understand what's going on with them, and try to encourage them to know that we all are equal. They should feel comfortable, and they may never know their point may even be the most important that we'll come up with. They should feel comfortable to speak up, because we need all of them to bring up these great ideas. We trust that they're smart. So we need all of them to generate all these great ideas so that we can improve together as a team. And after I realize that whenever I connect with them one-on-one, there will be some improvement, some level of improvement. So try all these things. If you find yourself in a situation where your team turns to be so quiet, these developers, sometimes they can disgrace you. Yeah, that's the reality. That's the reality on the ground. They can embarrass you. Yeah. So, and then I used to, just call it for what it is. Like sometimes when we even connect for this retrospective, that would be my retrospective point. I would put it that, oh, I realize that they're so quiet, and that sometimes it can tend to be embarrassing, and just saying that they will laugh and it will loosen them up a little bit, so the key is just it's just about observation, the atmosphere, and then just be authentic with them, and just address it like how you'd address your family. That's just how I see it. Just be natural. Don't always try to go by the books, because on the ground sometimes these books really doesn't apply. So yeah, so that's how I've handled team that doesn't really talk during retrospective when you really need them to talk. So again, thank you so much. If this is your first time here, go ahead and turn on that subscription button so you will never miss out on any of our weekly upload. If you are a returning subscriber, a returning viewer, thank you so much. I appreciate your support so much. It is because of you that I keep doing this every week. I keep looking forward to every weekend to do this. If you're looking for a one-on-one mentoring coaching services, to help you break through that job market, to help you jumpstart this agile career journey, or to help you even better do your job, even though right now we are overbooked for professionals, the professional mentoring, people that are already working. I think right now we don't have openings right now because we are already overbooked. So there are no open slots for that. But around looking to break into the job market and starting the career, please contact us. Reach out to us. You may just be next in line to be helped, and we are always so joyful when we are part of people's success story. So as we'll be ending here today, thank you so much, and hope to talk to you next time.